Hey everybody, welcome to Dad's A to Z. We decided to record this week, because we like to do things. This is Z, I'm Adam, and I had a really important topic that I couldn't wait to talk to him about. This past weekend I had some time to spend with my son. My son's 16, very soon to be 17. And kind of a serious topic came up out of nowhere, honestly. I didn't expect it. And it made me think of a number of different things that we could kind of apply it to. Godzilla's better than King Kong, isn't he?
No.
My son is trying to tell me that Godzilla is nothing compared to King Kong. But, King Kong's just some big monkey. Now, I have seen the new movie.
I have not.
Z hasn't seen a movie in about 45 years. And he's only 42, so...
It could be 6 years, yeah, but go yeah.
But how? Explain to me. Because my son, I dismiss him. He's just a teenager. So of course I dismiss him. How is King Kong better than a nuclear-powered, nuclear-charged defender of the planet, Godzilla? What has King Kong done?
Did it need to be nuclear to win?
To win what? Alright, so, King Kong.
To be the power?
If you remember
He's just
King
a
Kong,
big monkey?
Yeah, he is just a big monkey, exactly. And what did he do? He got captured. How many times did Godzilla get captured? 0, thank you. That's for the person that answered.
Wasn't the Godzilla killed originally or something?
Well, let's just talk about current timeline for right now. Godzilla always needed man, the interference of man. He became a good guy in the original movies because of some pretty blonde.
Everybody becomes a good guy because of pretty blonde.
Good enough.
Even a
anyway.
monkey.
And then eventually gets beaten by a bunch of planes. Godzilla has defeated, I can't even remember all their names. Mothra, I think Gamera, Mecha Godzilla. There's one with 3 heads. So it started making me think, and this was just the interesting topic of it, is to dig in a little bit deeper, because I don't have a lot to say about Godzilla other than that he's better than King Kong. I wanted to kind of press Z for my own amusement.
Ooh, oh my God, excited.
To kind of go back and forth on a couple of things.
Okay.
Now, one thing I will not do, because I already know our established positions, there's not going to be any Marvel versus DC.
Oh yeah, you can't, it's two different, competitions, and you really can't compare.
But that doesn't mean...
Professionalism and amateurism, it's really not, can't...
A bunch of guys wearing costumes were gods. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. But, I can say, if you got to get behind Captain America or Iron Man.
Iron Man, 100%.
Well, how do you say Iron Man 100%?
I don't know, it's just
I got a lot of money?
I'm not, well, not really, I don't know, it's...
Who walked away from who in Winter Soldier?
It doesn't matter. I haven't, my cat just popped into my laptop, so we have to just see if that's going to affect anything.
Sophie?
Sophie, come down.
Well, something's definitely getting turned off. So I'm going to get up while he finishes his thought.
Okay, that's fun.
Sophie?
Just going to show her that that we are not,
Oh, then we're not kidding? Oh, yeah.
kidding.
This is Sophie.
Hi,
I'm
Sophie.
going to look at that and make sure she doesn't go there.
Alright.
So my daughter's going to be a protector of Sophie.
Alright, go ahead, Sophie.
So I don't know, I always, Iron Man is just my favorite character. I don't know, he's just his eccentricity, I want to say.
When did he become your favorite character? When Downey Jr. took the role?
Probably, yeah.
Because Captain America
I
has
wasn't
always
really-
been my #1 Marvel.
I wasn't really into comic books, to be honest. So, my interest in Marvel starts with visualization on TV screens, and I feel when the DC when the Marvel universe started, the way it was intended, Iron Man was the first movie from the Marvel universe, and I it's just like he like just that eccentricity and like chaotic positive, like it's just like just crazy, and I just and Robert Downey Jr. like I cannot imagine anybody else in that role. Like that
I mean, to be fair, even Chris Evans said, I don't know how anybody else is going to be Iron Man, Tony Stark, because...
Yeah, it's just yeah, but
But we're not just talking about movies, so...
Okay, we don't, okay. All right.
We're talking about one of my biggest things growing up as far as comics, and you know, we'll maybe get into other subjects as well, is I was always drawn to the DC side. And the reason, which we'll get into when I get to the DC side, which I will bring that up, is that Marvel, while it had a personification, meaning that whether it was mutants or someone bitten by a radioactive spider or somebody inspired to make an iron suit, most of them were these flawed human characters that came upon abilities. And to me, that was almost too common. Everybody would kind of want, whether it's winning the lottery, you know, having that stroke of luck that changes your life so much that it almost wasn't, as stupid as it sounds, realistic to say.
Because it's being from the different planet, and that's realistic.
Or Steve Rogers that went and said, you know, I am the underdog, I am the little one, I know this probably isn't going to work, I'm just going to do it because of my passion and my belief in the ideal of the American way. To me, that's what drew me to Steve Rogers. He had no reason to believe he was going to be anything, but said my determination was going to be it. And even personified in the movies, when he was relegated to basically window dressing, he was just saying, come on, I need to get into, I need this to be more. This needs to be more about something than just, yeah, I'm a billionaire and I made a suit. Or some spider just happened to bite me and I became a thing. So to me, the idea of Captain America that...
So what, Batman is not DC's Iron Man?
And that's exactly why I bring myself to my next question.
Okay.
Batman or Superman?
Oh, that's like, I couldn't care less really, but I'm gonna go with... It's gonna go against my King Kong versus Godzilla strategy, but I'm because the King Kong is just a regular monkey. But I think Superman is like
and
more exciting.
I'll say for my side before I let you say yours, and maybe you'll just agree. It's not too dissimilar. Steve Rogers was, while he had all the courage and the self-confidence, and he went into the super soldier program and became this being with this power. Superman was brought up in this environment going, hey, you're dangerous. You can be a problem, but you can also be great. And you can be amazing. I don't know if it actually existed in the comics, but I'm sure it has, but in one of the animated movies, there's a time where he's fighting Darkseid, which if you've seen the Snyder Cut, which I'm sure you haven't seen the Snyder Cut yet.
No, intended.
That's shame on you.
Is it like 4 hours or something?
Yes.
I have no 4 hours.
1,000,000% better than the original movie.
To watch
just so you know.
watch 4 hours to watch DC, like it's fine.
4 days, trust me. It's worth it. But there was an animated one where he literally goes toe to toe and he goes, you know, my entire life I've had to hold back. I've had to worry about basically that great power comes great responsibility. What my actions would be. He said, but I don't have to with you. And that understanding of power, that understanding of ability is something that, I mean, I don't care that Batman could probably beat Superman 1-to-1.
You think so?
I mean, if you believe the mythos, Batman has a plan for... I mean, there was a whole comic storyline where bad guys got into his computer system, found out how to beat all the Justice League members and wiped them out. So if you believe that mythos, sure. That said, Superman just needs one little quick eye glance and some heat rays go through his head, you know. But it's the idea that he knows that he could do that and he can't, is why I think he's amazing, why I think Captain America is amazing. And why I think Godzilla's amazing. Because Godzilla is this ridiculous being of power that really only ever comes out when he's needed, so to speak. Where Godzilla gets trapped by a bunch of humans and
King Kong.
whatever. The waste of space. And that's not to say the new movie isn't good. Movies is fun.
You watched it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wanted to go see it, and even though I had HBO Max, he kind of...
That's a movie theater movie.
And that's literally what he said to me, because I've shoved so many comic book movies and Star Wars movies down his throat because of, not that he doesn't want to see it, down my wife's throat in particular, because you have to see that kind of spectacle.
Yeah.
But you could have watched that on HBO Max.
Oh yeah.
In my opinion.
Not
So,
expectational.
if you need my login, let me know.
Okay.
So it kind of got me on that entertaining list of ideas to get it out of sci-fi. I started wondering, because as we know each other pretty well and we have pretty good rapport and trust, but I don't know a lot.
Yeah.
So I wanted to say, are you a Beatles guy or a Rolling Stones guy? Do we have a similar taste in music, just so you know the background?
That's a good one. That's a good one.
I won't tell you my answer.
If I had to, it's so if I had to pick, I'm gonna cop out of this.
You can't cop out. You have. I mean,
Well,
if you
cop
cop out, then there's no point in having the conversation.
No,
And we're actually making a YouTube show.
Of course.
You can see that little camera right there in that recording?
yeah.
So we're trying to make content. So you have to come up with some
So I
idea.
can't cop out.
No cop.
I don't know. It's like almost apples and oranges.
Personally.
Personally,
Let's put it that way, because
Rolling
you can
Stones.
argue different
Rolling
things.
Stones.
You can Rolling Stones. Okay, why Rolling Stones?
I don't know. Just the rock and roll music is. I just like it. I just like the sound better of it. But like if I had to choose like the Trailblazers and like the influence on like everything else, it would probably be Beatles. But like Rolling Stones, what I admire about Rolling Stones is like how are they alive?
By that you mean Keith Richards.
Yes.
Obviously.
Yeah, like but like it's not just about like making music, and like their music has been relevant for so long. Beatles as well, but like for so long, it's incredible. It's incredible. Even if you, let's say, you don't like Rolling Stones, you gotta admire it. Like there's like just the longevity or whatever the name is in English. It's like
Longevity.
longevity is the word. Okay. It is just incredible, and just like when you listen to the music, when I remember the things I remember about Rolling Stones when I started getting into the music, right, and I didn't really know who plays what, like 15, 14, 15, 13, whatever it is. And then I realized, oh, that's Rolling Stones? Oh, this is Rolling Stones too? I was like, oh my, I had no idea this is Rolling Stones. Like it just goes on and on. And so I think it's like, Beatles, everything they did and how they did it and how they ended. And really the main effect they left on music. But I don't know, Rolling Stones is just something special. Just that, like, that rock and roll, like, the pure rock and roll, like that's how I see them. Like I just like the whole life, like the music, their lifestyle, everything is just rock and roll. And still alive, which is like just.
Sorry, Mr. McCartney. Sir McCartney.
Sir McCartney, the lone Beatle.
I can't stand the Beatles personally. I respect their meaning to music and culture, but to me, their path they've taken in their short period of time, relatively speaking, compared to short period of time, they really didn't branch out the same way that I think the Rolling Stones. I mean, the Rolling Stones started with such a American Southern blues kind of sound to it, and added this kind of twist that I at that time they each made their own mark. Two other bands that we can make the same argument with fast forward to the 90s, Nirvana,
Mm.
Alice in Chains. Same genre,
Mhm.
right? But so different. Nirvana came
absolutely.
from a very different place, like the Beatles, this kind of more trippy kind of idea, where Alice in Chains was a hair metal band, where, Rolling Stones was that bluesy kind of, grungy, for lack of a better term, band. But they meant so much at the time, but as time progressed, I'll even make the same argument, Nirvana and Alice in Chains didn't last nearly as long, but the transition between the two was very similar, where Nirvana kind of followed the same path, in my opinion, where they kind of did what they did, and they did it very well, and nobody else did it, just like the Beatles.
Yeah.
Where the Rolling Stones were doing stuff that Southern black artists in particular were doing in the United States and other parts of the Western world. Alice in Chains wasn't doing anything new when they first started. They were doing Motley Crue,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They were doing that kind of sound and just found their way, but the difference that I think both bands made is they found this serpentine way of kind of trying to express themselves differently. And to me, I find that way more interesting.
Yeah, I think it's like the bands that are so raw in music they make. Like you don't have to be a fan to feel it.
Mm.
And that's something like for example, there's not a lot of music I wouldn't listen, but like not growing up in this country, like country music is really like it just doesn't do nothing to me. Like it's just
We will never be talking about the best country artists on this channel.
ever because
Ever.
I just know about Blake Shelton. That's it.
I know the name. That's about it.
So, but there's still like some country songs that you just feel it. Not that I feel it, but Sweet Home Alabama, like it's a country song, right? But it's a song that is
Depends on who you ask. It's a country song.
well, it's a country song. Anyways,
Serbia, it's a country song.
it's a country song. Like from my point of view, like that's all
It's
country.
called Southern Rock, man.
Southern rock, yeah, it's country, southern country. But there is like when the song is when the artist is well developed, you feel those songs even if you don't really like it. And I think that's when it comes to Rolling Stones. It comes to Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains, it's as raw as it can get. Like there's really like
An entire album was about the singer's heroin use.
yeah, and it's like
And it's
it goes deep. It goes like just deep into darkest places that they could get in, and it's and I remember my days of when I started listening to that kind of music, like I think it was like 14, 15 when I discovered Pearl Jam, and that was my introduction into grunge rock and roll. Like let's call it grunge. It's grunge. Not as near as grungy as Nirvana and Alice in Chains, but like in that, right? They're all from the same neighborhood in Seattle. At first it was like Alice in Chains was a little too much for me at that time. Like I liked 10 from Pearl Jam. That was my.
That was your edge.
That was my edge. Yeah, I was so edgy when I was a kid. But then what happened was I think I was like I don't know, like 16 years old, something like that. I went to Pearl Jam's concert in Budapest, and we were on the way there in the bus. It's like a 4 or 5 hour bus ride. We were watching Alice in Chains concerts, and it was. I was like, oh my God, this is like it's on repeat, like for 5 hours you listen to it. And I was like, oh my God, this is great. I still think Pearl Jam is better, but I think that's when it comes to to that type of music, the grunge is really what connected to you on times when you started listening to it.
I think the only statement I can agree with you there is that musically, Pearl Jam might be better, but
still working though.
I mean, Alice in Chains
Well,
is
yeah.
still working,
Well,
and
they're
their
called-
new
they're
singer,
called-
which I
They're
admit I don't remember his name.
They're called Alice in Chains. Alice in Chains
There
2.0.
was, I always got more of an emotional feel from most of their music. Where Pearl Jam, alright, to be fair, full disclosure, I got put off of a story that I heard of, I don't know if it was late 90s, early 2000s, where the Pearl Jam song "This Is Not For You" came out, and allegedly it was supposed to be about a song to the fans, that I'm not doing this for you. And the story back then was that he was, I forget what award show, but he was eating chips and dip off of the award. It was some like picture type award, and he was eating.
So a grunge singer and a band was against the system and accolades. Oh, that's shocking. I'm shocked.
I get
and they did
what
not,
you're saying,
but they did not.
There's still some appreciation that has to be had.
But they did not do that. Like, in all honesty, they did not do it for the fans.
For sure, 100%.
And
but
that's why it's
who's
great.
paying your mortgage?
Doesn't matter. And that's why it's great, because they did not do it for the fans. They did it for themselves. And I think that's where when we come to the making songs commercial, almost like making it to make money and not making it because that's your story. I think that's where you can make a difference between, I think, at least in my opinion, like who are the good ones and who are not.
I 100% agree with you, but it's the fact that they did it the way they did it and still had that kind of attitude rather than an appreciation that I lost a lot of respect for the band. And don't get me wrong, they're the only band I can sing in karaoke because he has such a deep voice, but it did definitely turn me off. To keep the silly idea going, another thought that I had for this type of silly debate, there's been a lot to do with the GOAT, greatest of all time. And the one that comes to everybody's mind right now when you say that is Tom Brady.
Yeah, right.
The one on paper is likely Serena Williams, with her amount of...
I mean, GOAT, like,
greatest of all time.
in like, not per sport, just for like...
Well, I mean, for right now you can bring it into sport, but then you can start bringing it into other realms because you can make arguments, who's the greatest of all time in entertainment? Is it Howard Stern back in the day that was the king of all media? Or is it Will Smith? Or is it The Rock?
I don't know, like when you transition greatest of all time from like entertainment, art, that's very subjective. I don't think you can...
Well, I mean, it does kind of...
Yeah, I think who's better painter, Monet or Van Gogh? Like it's like...
But you could have your methods of track, and that's why I went originally with sports.
Well, sports you
Everyone
can
wants-
because you can quantify. Yeah.
But championships, Serena Williams.
Absolutely.
Greatest. Tom Brady, unfortunately, is up there. Everyone sleeps on hockey.
But let's say like greatest of all time. Like this is what I'm not doing this to slide Drew Brees in the conversation.
Yes, he is. Don't believe a
Although it
second.
could be, but I also think the greatest of all times does not need to be a story only about championships.
But that would make it subjective.
No, but it's a story about you can quantify success in different ways and not just championships, right?
Right, but that would be subjective, like we were saying before about artists.
No, but
You
like
have to find some baseline in order to measure it against.
baseline, like for example, when Tom Brady's team did not have top 10 defensive NFL, what kind of numbers did he produce? Quantifiable, right? And then add other quarterbacks with the same story, and then add there what the passer rating is, what the like touchdowns, little things. For example, right?
But what
Cheating,
what brings it to the ultimate though? And so I was going to bring
sportsmanship.
hockey into the conversation, and the reason being not just because he was a New York Ranger for a little while, but Wayne Gretzky, has Stanley Cups, scoring title. The man, I think he's the last man to score 200 points in a season, which it works the same. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not. It works the same as in soccer. Goals and assists gets you points. He had 210, 218 points. The man has more assists than any other player has points in history. So these are type of quantifiable things, but then you'll have your Pittsburgh Penguin fan who can kind of rightfully say, well, if Mario Lemieux, this is where the ifs comes in. This is where that defense, if he was able to stay healthy, if he was able to do this,
Yeah.
he could have
But
likely.
that's subjective. I mean, we can end the greatest all-time hockey conversation right now, and I can make a verdict right now because that's easy. I don't watch hockey.
He's a soccer fan. doesn't
I
watch
want.
hockey.
I mean, I want to always try, but it's always when I decide like let me watch hockey. It's like the finals of the Stanley Cup, and I miss it. But the only player I heard about is Wayne Gretzky, and that's it. So I think the story just ends there. Like there's no like.
Right. Well, I mean, I
I
tried to do that just to get my hockey fandom in there.
But it's like and it is like if a guy that never watched hockey game in his life heard about Wayne Gretzky, like that means that guy did something right.
Agreed. So then Tom Brady's the greatest quarterback. Because most people around the world know who Tom Brady is.
He might be. I'm not saying he's not.
Right, but I'm just using that argument kind of against.
Yeah.
Like Hulk Hogan is the wrestler.
All right, wrestling is like
Yes, I understand.
whatever.
But
let's not bring.
we're talking.
Let's not bring it to
we're
into
talking
sports.
about name notoriety here. Like there's wrestlers, I have
get
no
it,
idea
yeah.
who they are,
I
but
get it,
real wrestling fans would be like, "Oh no, Hogan, he's nothing. This guy did that, this, and the other thing."
Let's not bring in wrestling into
I was just using it as a
into
point of argument.
conversation about sports.
Entertainment.
It's entertainment, yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I think you need to be subjective, really, and I feel like sole championships, plural, should not be the only measurement of
Depending on the sport.
on the goal. Depending, well,
Serena
yeah,
Williams.
well, yeah, that's young, yeah.
I mean, except for her doubles that she probably got with her sister.
But like, let's talk Tom Brady, for example, right? This last season, he played below average.
For him, below average.
Wait, is he a GOAT or not?
But still, a GOAT
No.
playing below average
He
for
play-
him is still better than the average quarterback.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean, I'm not saying he's not good. I'm just saying that he did not win the championship because he's the GOAT. He won the championship.
Disclaimer, he hates Tom Brady.
He won the championship because Tampa defense was amazing this year. And they won the championship. Not Tom Brady. Any quarterback would have won the championship.
And they re-signed everybody.
Everybody.
Jesus.
Which is great for them. But that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like when you look at when your team does not have a top 10 defense, where your ratings stand. And Tom Brady is like on number 10 in that parameter, for example. Not that he's mine, but Drew Brees is number 1. And but like for example the Falcons,
Matt Ryan. Matty Ice.
He's the second in that when you
And it's literally equated to nothing for him as far as championships.
Well, they got a chance to beat him, but they didn't. But what I'm saying, like it's like you have obviously a quarterback that pulls his team, and then you have a quarterback that does not. And that's what I'm like. Is it like? I think it's subjective. I guess it's subjective, but I feel like it's also the conversation between Michael Jordan or LeBron James, which is also the apples and oranges. Because it's two eras.
It'll depend after the new Space Jam comes out.
Yeah, we'll see. But I think everything comes to be subjective, and we were talking from Godzilla to King Kong and Iron Man and Captain America and Superman and Batman, and now who's the GOAT? I think we can say, okay, these are the parameters, this is quantifiable, and you get a formula, and this person wins, right? Which will be probably Serena Williams. But when you look at what that person stands for, how they got there, where they got, what they won, how they won it, with which teams.
Still subjective.
No, I say it's very subjective, and I'm saying I don't know if it's going to be able not to be subjective.
All right.
Okay.
So
Not
just to wrap it up,
Serena Williams.
best delivery pizza. I can't talk to him about burgers or steaks or anything because it's vegetarian.
Delivery? You mean like
Delivery, not local.
You mean like the
Domino's,
franchises?
Pizza Hut,
Oh my God!
Papa John's,
They are all
Little Caesars.
They are
What else is?
all
No.
garbage.
Subjective. We got to wrap this up with a definitive answer.
I'm gonna go.
From the
I'm gonna
Serbian
go for only one reason. They're all garbage. All garbage. No difference between Domino's and Papa John's. No difference. Garbage. However, Domino's put their cheese in a crust, they win.
And with that, you have a terrible conclusion. But we thank you for wasting this time with us.
Great conclusion.
We love you guys. We do appreciate you. Please like, subscribe. You know, I don't know, maybe tell some people about us. We'd appreciate it. And until, you know, the next couple minutes, if we think of something else to record for tonight, we'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye.